So let's start applying these models to stock valuation. So first, we have a company that paid a dividend of $1.20 yesterday. Now, the fact that it was paid already is important. Let me change the color so it's easier to see. Okay, this is important because you only pay the price of something. Something is worth something to you only based on the present value of what you expect to receive from that investment. So if something was already paid, this was given to someone else, not you. If you were to buy the stock today, you will not receive this payment. So when this is yesterday, what this is trying to provide you with G sub 0, right? Something that has been already paid. You forecast that the dividend will grow at 3% annually, and the way it's written is such that there are no constraints here. So what that's basically saying or implying is that it will grow at a constant rate of 3%. So they're giving you your G, the rate of growth, the constant rate of growth of dividends. Value times beta, this company's beta, is 1.4. The current risk-free rate is 4.5%, and the market risk premium is 6%. So if you recall our risk and return conversation, you will note that this sounds like they're providing you information for applying CAPM. Okay, and we will need to do that very soon. So the two questions that you're being asked are first to estimate the current price of the stock. That's the first one. Basically, you're being asked to find P sub 0, right? And the second part of the question, the second thing you need to find is what is the price of this stock 2 years from now? Immediately after D2 has been paid. So if it has been paid, then D2 is not going to be part of the conversation, right? Just to keep that in mind. So we're being asked to find P sub 2. Okay. So if you think of this from a timeline perspective, we know that D sub 0 is 1.2. We also know that we wish to find two things. We need to find the price today, so we are going to be asking for P sub 0, and eventually we're also going to need to find P sub 2. Right? Now, what is P sub 0? And let's again draw a timeline, right? The price of anything, remember, is in the end what you expect to receive. So P sub 0 will be basically the present value of D1, D2, D3, and so on and so forth, right? Now, since we know in this case that our constant growth is of 3%, so we know that this stock is growing at a constant rate, then we can apply the constant growth model. So that makes things a lot easier. So to answer the question, what is P sub 0? Oh, we know for the constant growth model that it's D1 over RE minus G, right? You may remember this conversation we had. Here or here. Same thing. This is in general. This is specifically applied to P sub 0. Okay, so what do we need? We need D sub 1. Do we have D sub 1? We don't. What we do have is D sub 0, and we do know that it's going to grow. The dividends are growing at 3%. So if you have D sub 0 being $1.20, then D sub 1 would be just simply D sub 0 multiplied times 1 plus the growth rate of 3%, right? So in our case, we know that you can just crunch the numbers and you'll see that you find that it's 1.236. I'm going to use some decimals here. Okay, that's D sub 1. Okay, so we have the numerator portion, right, of what we need, right? We have this. Okay. Now, let's go on. What else do we need? So 1.236 divided by, what else do we need? R sub B. What is the return that we require from this investment? To find that, remember you have to apply CAPM. So you may recall the CAPM says that your required return would be the risk-free rate plus the beta times the market risk premium. The risk-free rate today is, the current risk-free rate is 4.5%. 4.5% plus, what is our beta? Our beta is 1.4. Here it is. And all of that multiplied times the market risk premium. The market risk premium, remember, when somebody says the market risk premium, they are already giving you everything that's in parentheses, right? They are already giving you the difference between the historical market return and the historical risk-free rate. So that's 6%. Goes here. If you have trouble with units, always express them in decimal form. I'm expressing them in percentage form because I know exactly, what the calculations look like, right? In other words, if you in doubt, then just express it as 1.4 times 6% is 0.06, right? And you get the answer in decimal form, which you can then convert into percentage units. In my case, I know that if I apply this, okay, the cost of equity, the return required by equity holders will be 12.9%, which will be the same as getting this, okay? So now that I know that, then put that in the denominator, okay? And just to get things straight, if you are mathematically, if that's not your thing, then always express everything in decimal form. And then at the end, you can do percentage units if the answer requires a percentage unit. In my case, the answer is going to be a dollar value. So just to keep things clear, I know that I got 12.9%, and know that that in decimal form is 0.209, okay? All right, the G, what is the G? The G is 3%, so again, that's 0.03. So I'm getting my first answer. My first answer is that the price today should be $12.48. This is my first answer, okay? The second answer, it requires me to say, okay, how much is this worth in year 2? Now, since this is a stock that grows at a constant rate forever, I can apply the constant growth model not only at time 0, but I can also apply it at year 2. So how would I apply the constant growth model in year 2? And again, this is because we're told that these stocks grow at a constant rate, right? So B sub 2 is equal to, remember how it goes? If this is 2, then that means that B sub 2 will be equal to D sub what? T plus 1, right? D sub 3 divided by RE minus G. Okay, so I'm standing here in year 2, and what I know is that after year 2, right, growth is also constant. So I can apply the constant growth model to get my answer. That's what we're going to do. So what do I need? I need D sub 3 and I need RE minus G. The denominator we already know. So the point is just to get D sub 3. Now how do I get D sub 3? Well, remember, we already have D sub 1, right? D sub 1 was here. So what is D sub 2? D sub 2 is just D sub 0 growing at my G for how many years? 2 years. I hope that makes sense to you. So it will be 1.2 times 1 plus 0.03 raised to the third power. Okay. And what is D sub 3? D sub 3 would be D sub 0 growing at 1 plus G for 3 years. Okay. Which would be 1.2 times 1 plus 0.03 raised to the third power. I hope that mathematically this looks okay to you. Okay, that will give me a D sub 3. If you crunch the numbers, I'm not going to crunch all the numbers here because otherwise I'll fill up all the PowerPoint. But if you crunch the numbers, you'll see that if you replace these variables with their values, right? D sub 0 is 1.2, G is 0.03. You'll see that you get a dividend sub 3 of $1.31. So to populate our calculation, it would be D sub 3 is 1.311 and the denominator is the same. Okay, giving us a value at the end of year 2 of $13.24. Okay, so how much is this stock going to be worth at the end of year 2, assuming that all these conditions remain? $13.24. Okay, as you can see, the price is expected to grow. Yes, it is expected to grow because we are expecting a 12.9% compensation. So there's growth expected. All right, let's do another application. You have this company that has paid these dividends, okay? And notice that, these are different periods of time, right? So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? For the last 7 years, right? 7 periods. This is what you basically have observed in the form of dividend payments, okay? Notice that if you look at how much each dividend has grown in a particular year, the G is not constant. Okay. Now, what if we want to find the price of the stock at the end of 2013? So we need the price of the stock right here. But I want to apply the constant growth model. Okay. I want to kind of adjust reality to being able to make my life easier by applying this constant growth model. Now, just as in general, right, applying the constant growth model will be that the price at the end of 2013 will be equal to what? To the dividend in what year now? Remember, T plus 1 in the dividend year 2014, right? Divided by RE minus G. So this is what I'm going to try to do, right? I'm going to try this, apply this model. And by the way, the answer is here. Probably let's change this. The answer is here. But I'd like to explain it to you. Okay. So, what is the key component that we need? We had the dividend in 2013, right? So can we get a dividend in 2014? The answer is hypothetically yes, but what is the growth rate? What is the growth rate that we're going to assume so that it goes from 2013 to 2014? What is that growth rate? And that growth rate has to be constant, right? It has to be assumed constant if I want to use the constant growth model. And what is R sub E? Well, R sub E, lucky for us, we are already given that. Okay, the return required by investors is 8.5%. So that's known. The question is, what are these other two, the ones that we need, right? The G, and since we don't know the G, we really can't get the dividend in 2014 because the dividend in 2014, right? If we can assume a constant growth rate, will be just a dividend in 2013 growing at G, right? That will be it. It's just that we don't know G, right? So here's a trick that we can use based on our time value of money conversation. Notice that, as I said before, that the growth rate and dividends are different, right? But what if I were to ask Excel to help me find the rate that the single growth rate that would represent these different growth rates that have occurred throughout these 7 periods? In other words, what would be the single growth rate that I can apply to each single year such that I would still go from $1.43 to $1.89, but with a single constant growth rate. Okay, so what is the representative annual growth rate in dividends that if it grows at that same number every year, it will mimic or replicate exactly what happened to this company? Okay, so all we do is we say the present value is 1.43. The future value, I want to get to 1.89, and I want to get to these numbers in 7 periods, right? So if you solve for R, if you solve for the rate function in Excel, right? Excel will give you the growth rate every year, the constant growth rate every year, such that that will happen. So we just found our G, right? This rate of growth. So though we're using rate, we're really finding the rate of growth of these numbers, right? So that's what we're going to, using the rate function in Excel, we're going to asking it to help us find our G. So our G is 4.06%. That's the rate of growth such that we are replicating what actually happened to the company. And if we have that constant growth rate, then it's going to be much easier for us because now, we are going to be able to just apply the constant growth model. So the price in 2013, okay, at the end of 2013 is going to be the dividend in 2014, correct? Now, what is the dividend in 2014? It's going to be the dividend in 2013 growing at what rate? At 4.06%, right? Times 4.06%. Divided by, what is RE? RE is 8.5%. We were already given that. Minus the G, which is 0.0406. Okay. Now remember, all this, right, is dividend in 2014, right? Okay. And that will give us the $44.29. Okay. So this stock is worth $44.29 today. Today being, what we were asking, right? Today. As long as we can make a reasonable assumption concerning the growth rate of dividends, and as long as we know the opportunity cost of capital of 8.5%. And our reasonable assumption concerning the growth rate of dividends is that the growth rate is going to be more or less constant, right, at around 4.06%, if the past history of the company can be assumed to be a good reflection of what we expect to see going forward. Okay. The next example is where we're going to apply a situation where you cannot assume constant growth all the time.